Welcome back to the 716 Sports Podcast. We are back for our long-awaited return. I know you all missed us. Jeff Skinner finally scored a goal, so this is the Jeff Skinner goal-scoring celebration party, and that's why we've all gathered here today.
You know, it's funny. 6 weeks ago, Justin said, let's agree to take some time off, but as soon as Jeff Skinner scores a goal, which I'm sure will be any day now, we're just going to go back and record a podcast immediately. And jokes on all of us, it still took another month and a half, but we are true to our word. We are back here right now.
It took him, a calendar year to go between goals? Now, granted, there was a little stoppage in there, but still.
Presto wouldn't have mattered, honestly.
It might not have.
The way he was going
when you put your $9 million winger with such offensive forces, tours de force, if you will, as guys like Riley Sheehan and Curtis Lazar for 10 minutes a night, it's hard to believe that his offensive numbers have dipped. Personally, I think he's entirely responsible for how his numbers have gone.
Hang on.
Oh boy!
You mentioned. Oh god, I'm already off. Here we go, firecracker.
We are 55 seconds in.
Yeah, you know what? You know what's dumber? That's not the dumbest fucking thing that he's done with Jeff Skinner in these last 1.5 years, because he had Vlad actual Sobotka as his center before Sobotka got hurt and gave Kruger no choice but to not put Sobotka on Skinner's line. So Riley Sheehan and Curtis Lazar is an upgrade somehow from what his big-brained idea was last year.
At least I like Lazar as a person.
Yes!
That's an improvement.
That's the improvement. You can actually cheer for Curtis Lazar and think that offense doesn't die when his stick touches the puck.
Is that Curtis who leads the team in 5-on-5 goals, Lazar?
Yes!
Just curious.
Curtis, I hate my life because that is the player that's leading this team in 5-on-5 goals, Lazar.
So let's not bury the lead too far into this podcast here. Since the last time we recorded, and honestly, the Sabres weren't giving us a ton of motivation to record for a hot second, but now we've gone into Jeff Skinner can't score, but he's snake bit. He's putting up the best 5v5 numbers, shot quality, scoring chances of anyone on the team, including the other multi-million-dollar guys in Eichel and Hall. But he gets buried on the fourth line and then gets scratched for, I believe it was 3 games in a row. And if you thought at any point it was anything other than just Ralph Kruger, who, as of this recording, and I hope this ages badly, but as of this recording and when you're listening to this, is still somehow the coach of this hockey team. Truly, I thought we were going to have some other news to talk about today, but we don't yet.
It's not somehow.
After Skinner finally scores a goal, beauty of a goal, on Sunday afternoon in the third game of a 3-game sweep by the Islanders, which is a weird thing to think about. They're like, oh, it's the first time we're going to play the same team 3 times in a row in the regular season, and you already know that stat was going to be followed by, it's also the first time you're going to lose to the same teams 3 times in a row in a regular season. So Skinner scores a beautiful backhand goal, finally gets off the schneid. You can see how happy he is. You can see how happy his line mates are for him. Everyone's happy. The easiest, you want to talk about dunks, Derek, the easiest slam dunk that he would have had, Ralph Kruger would have had, is go on the postgame show. He gets asked a question about Skinner scoring, be like, yeah, it's good for him to finally get off of it. No, this motherfucker has to go on and make it about himself. It's like, oh no, for a guy who's always ranked himself in how many goals he scores, it's good to finally get rid of that 0. Like, you could not have sounded more like a fucking asshole than you did in that comment. Like, all you had to do is be like, I'm glad for Jeff. I'm glad that he scored. Everyone takes it, it's like, oh, okay, cool. Now you've proven to everyone who was being shouted down on Twitter, like, no, the coach doesn't have a personal thing against Skinner. This 63-year-old man who got banished from Premier League because he couldn't find enough guys to blame at Southampton comes back to American non-foot-based sports and has a personal vendetta against a 28-year-old guy who was mostly known for smiling and supporting the Buttes in post-game conferences.
Hey, so let's be real about something real quick. I think that someone stabbed me because I'm about to accidentally defend Kruger here. Those comments, I didn't think that sounded like he had something against him. But god damn it. Like you said, all you have to say is good for him. Why did you put that out there? I know what he meant to say was something more along the lines of, it's good that a noted goal scorer finally got off the schneid. Like, good. We need that. If he said those words that I just said there, that makes him sound less like an asshole than he somehow did. I don't even know if he meant to sound like a dick, but he definitely did.
I don't know. When you open a comment about his goal with, and I quote a friend of the podcast, TJ Luckman, who was able to transcribe this for all of us.
Yep.
That's certainly something for Jeff Skinner. Is, by the way, not the way you want to start that. How do you feel about Jeff finally scoring? That's certainly something for Jeff Skinner, who has measured his whole career on goals. Yeah. And
those pesky things.
Those pesky things.
Yeah. Who needs them?
I have never. I don't know that I've ever seen a coach take for a note like. If it's one thing if he's being asked questions about Skinner when Skinner is quote unquote not performing, be like, well, he needs to score. If that's your mantra the whole time and he scores, your mantra can't be like, well, I guess it's fine that he scored, but it's really just I hope it's a sign of more. Like, just be fucking happy for the guy for a second. The city, the fan base, and we'll get to. Boy, man, I appreciate Sabres fans as much as ever trying to watch through all this nonsense.
Oh, I've still watched every game, unfortunately.
You're an insane person.
Oddly, I've watched more over the last 3 weeks when this has been a complete train wreck than I was the previous 4 weeks. I'm motivated.
also insane.
You're a masochist.
Well, you gotta watch the car crash.
Mike, I think you can agree with me on this one. These two are fucked up in the head.
I think I've watched like 3 out of how many games? 6 or so?
You ready for how many games that I've fucking watched of this team since they came back from COVID?
Is it plus or minus a half? Plus or minus a half?
It is over that. I've watched one fucking game of this team because that game was enough for me to go again and think Ralph Kruger is not the head coach of this hockey team.
You're well prepared.
Oh, I am well prepared, motherfucker. You want to know why?
When was the last time you seen me drinking on a podcast? It's been a while.
It feels good to not be the only one.
I'm 4 Moscow Mules in because the Sabres, I think.
Yeah, I'm full of goddamn piss today. That's what I'm full of right now because I'm sick of this guy's shit. I don't need to watch these games to understand just how bad this team is playing.
All right, so let's see here. Let's get some kind of organization, some semblance to this. Derek's fired up. Jeff's fired up.
They've taken the fucking joy out of watching Rasmus Dahlin move a puck or Jack Eichel taking a team over on his shoulders or Taylor Hall, the 2018 MVP, or Jeff Skinner, the 40-goal scorer. And he has graded every one of them into the ground because of the principles. Motherfucker, if I hear you say anything about principles one more time, I think I'm going to send you to the principal's office. The other principal with an A-L at the end of it.
Spelling
as in,
jokes.
all the way the fuck out of here.
Oh, boy.
The funniest thing for me about the concept of accountability, it isn't so much that Jeff isn't scoring, so you need to bench him for a game. I disagreed with that. But you could probably make an argument to me that if your 40-goal scorer hasn't scored in half a season, let's just shake up the lineup for a game. Let's just let him sit, just take a breath, relax. But the problem is you can't make that argument to me if you're also playing Kyle Opozo every night, who also isn't scoring and is playing objectively worse in every category. It's baffling. And then on top of that, on top of everything you said about Skinner, maybe even more alarming, and maybe rightly so in that, is his comments about Ristolainen after the game on Thursday, where it's Ristolainen's 3rd or 4th game back after he was out for a rather extended period of time dealing with symptoms from COVID-19. Risto comes back, and he's still playing 20 minutes a night like Risto always has since he first got drafted here, and he's looking a little sluggish by the end of the game. He had a bad turnover. I really didn't think he played too poorly in Thursday's game. It was the Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. I think they played the Thursday night game.
Yeah.
He had a bad turnover at the blue line that led to one of the 5 Islanders' goals. And because they scored 5, I have a hard time blaming him for anything. But he jumps and Risto, to his credit, I've said a lot of bad things about him on this podcast. One thing he has always done very well is he is very open about taking blame for things. He will own his mistakes, and he will be the first to say he has to be better. It's the little bit of Ryan O'Reilly in him, and that's what people hated about O'Reilly. Was O'Reilly would go to the post game and be like, "Yeah, I fucked up. I need to play better," and they somehow hated him for it. Risto still takes that same level of, and now that he's one of the more senior members of this team, because everyone else has been replaced multiple times over at this point, it feels like, other than him and Jack. Anyway, Kruger goes into the post game and is like, we kind of expected this dip after he came back from not having any physical activity for 17 days. I'm like, okay, why are you, first of all, obviously you want to get him back on the ice. I understand that. But if you're worried about his conditioning and you are just admitting to me that you're running him into the ground after he was off, not just off the ice. This guy was basically bedridden for the
guy thought he was going to die.
For 3 weeks, he's barely moving.
The poor guy thought he was going to die.
And you get him back, and he's like, well, kind of playing 22 minutes a night against the Islanders on my top pair. And then at the end of that, you're like, oh, it means he's going to probably try to give him some time off this weekend. And then he fucking does it. He plays him in Saturday and Sunday's games.
No. Even worse than that. Even worse than that is the words expected a dip. Bitch, if you thought that this was coming, maybe you should have done something to avoid it.
Well, listen, we don't react. We don't plan here. We just react.
No. Because then you have to take a 20-year-old who is probably in some of the best shape that anyone's going to be in their life, and you have to send him for a maintenance game. But no, the guy that was bedridden from COVID, no, throw him right back out there, sink or swim, bitch.
Can't be expected to play Matt Irwin on a Thursday against the Islanders.
I remember how irrationally upset Steve and I were when Cousins got scratched for the first time. We thought this kid's playing really well. He probably shouldn't be sitting. What are you doing? Why is this planned?
No, I don't.
And I understood that explanation that you guys gave back to me. However, combining that with this stupidity, how in the fuck do those players in that locker room respect you?
I don't think they do.
I don't think they do at this point.
You can't.
And you see it in the way that they play period to period.
They play like dog shit because they don't respect you.
Speaking of the benching of Cousins, and the excuse they go to is maintenance day for fatigue because it's a grueling schedule. Isn't that the kind of guy you want in there? A young guy, young, spry, as opposed to someone like Kyle Okposo or Eric Stahl, who are old, frail men at this point.
Well,
like Eric Stahl's 40. Okposo has one half of his brain left. Like, get these guys, and neither of them are doing shit. Cousins is buzzing out there, and they're gonna bench the 20-year-old because he's fatigued.
Stahl doesn't look like he's been a reliable first line center the last few years anywhere. He looks like he's just. He looks like he was picked up off the corner somewhere from maybe a old beer league team or like an old guy beer league team or something where like over 40 or something. Because
it's funny that we don't talk about Eric Stahl being murdered because of the fact that this man has grinded everything else promising to a halt. The most exciting thing that we've gotten out of Dylan Cousins lately is that he punched Lindgren in the face and fed him all the rights that he could eat.
He's been playing well, at least, though.
He's been fantastic.
He's been fantastic. But, like, when it comes to highlight-worthy things that you can actually play back in clips that people can watch and enjoy, that is it. That is the culmination of our shitty hockey team.
The best two players on the ice the last 2 weeks have been Dylan Cousins and Jacob Bryson.
Bryson's been unbelievable.
And first of all, this is not to take away from Bryson. I am happy that he's been playing so well because this team is so desperately in need of defensive depth. The fact that he is developing in this way and could be a key piece is very good, and he has earned all the praise that he's gotten over the last couple weeks. That being said, I should not be sitting here talking about how excited I am about Jacob Bryson on a team that has $30 million of the players with a combined 1 goal in the last month.
Yeah.
Or better yet,
see the clip of Taylor Hall tripping up the blue line?
Yeah, that was pretty indicative of how this team has been playing lately.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, and better yet on Jacob Bryson. It took a season-ending injury to Jake McCabe and Will Borgen and a pandemic for Bryson to make the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Cody Eakin is untouchable. Matt Irwin plays for some reason. Brandon Davidson had a ghastly turnover in that third game. Just because I don't watch the games doesn't mean that I don't punish myself with the highlights. I just punch myself in the balls for less time.
That's true. If you're only hitting yourself in the balls for 7 minutes, as opposed to 3 hours, it's better for your balls. Speaking of your balls, we're sponsored by Manscaped.com. Be sure, and I know it's been a while since I had a chance to do one of these reads for you, but be sure to use our code 716sports at checkout for 20% off and free delivery on your next Weed Whacker or Lawnmower 3.0, courtesy of our friends, sponsors at Manscaped.com.
Let's also talk. Brandon, speaking of defenseman,
You're going to cut the live read off?
Oh, that's it. I got it.
Oh, okay.
He was done. We have chemistry. I know when he's done. And
like the Sabres.
Brandon Montour, dude. Like, you named all the players that are playing over Bryson. This guy's been dog water all season. He's a -11. Darlene's a -21. But I take Brandon Montour out of the lineup first. He's been the absolute worst defender by far, in my opinion. Turnovers all over the ice. I don't know what's going on with this team.
I know what's going on with this team.
I mean, So, and the coaching is one part of it, but that's only so much. The players on the ice are not performing.
They're not.
Everything is on the perimeter. Everything is on the perimeter. No one's going to the net.
Smooth-brained stuff.
Nobody is going to the net.
Well, guess what? This guy, this genius, has them so worried about playing your principles and playing defensive hockey that you have gutted away anything fun. And yes, some of that has to do with the fact that they are playing on the perimeter. But guess what? I think also part of that is, why the fuck am I giving my body up for this guy right now? He's taking the piss.
Well, I mean, it's if you want to build a hockey team on principles, you can do it. And we memed the Sean McDermott culture philosophy to hell when he first showed up here. But Sean McDermott, to me, and not to tie this in with football, I think it's a good parallel, though, for how the two organizations differ in success, is that Sean McDermott, when he comes in and says this is a culture of accountability, it's a culture of winning, and like what he has come in from day one, he's preached that, but not just saying it, the way that he coaches, the moves that he makes, he backs it up. And I think the players respect that, and they want to play for him. He's a player's coach. They like playing for him. They like playing together. Ralph Krueger saying, okay, everyone needs to play to what I expect them to do. We have to be accountable. I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with Dylan Cousins getting the maintenance day scratches. Does Dylan Cousins want those? Probably not. Does the organization think that maybe a kid who hasn't played more than 40 games a season could use a couple games off in a smaller, more constricted NHL season? Fine. But like you said, if you think he needs maintenance days, why is Oposo going to play every night? Why isn't Skinner playing over Oposo? You're telling me that Asplund or Rustalainen, these guys can't be rotated in for Stahl or Oposo or Eakin or these guys? They don't need maintenance days. Just Cousins. It's bizarre to me.
Casey Middleton has 4 points in 8 games.
Yeah, at this point, Casey should be in the lineup every damn night.
More than Jeff Skinner, and is more than half the roster. He's producing when he's in there. I don't know. Like,
he was good with Skinner on Sunday.
This team,
he's looked good no matter what.
Yeah. I get off so many tangents here. The team is so piss poor at developing talent. Like, I know Tage Thompson hasn't been great, but like he played very well in training camp. He had a game and a half on the top line. So I took him out of the lineup altogether. Like, I just don't get what they do to these young players. Look at Darlene. Darlene is like, and he's still getting his points. And a lot of his points come from, breakout passes and transitions, which they have none of right now because nobody can score, so his points are affected. He's not great defensively this season, but who the fuck is in the team right now?
Oh, my God.
But I don't know.
I do love people trying to blame him for being left alone on a 3-on-1 yesterday for a goal against.
I want to get back into that later. Anyone calling him a bust this needs to relax.
Yeah, there's something. We're going to have to team up on that one because I've seen some pretty damning things so far. But more or less, it all comes back to one thing for me, and it's this guy. We're digging a grave here tonight, guys, because I am so sick of this man being the coach. Because we talk about Sean McDermott, and we talk about how he does hold that higher standard of accountability. You know what he doesn't do? He doesn't blame it on the players if things go poorly. That man takes the heat, even when it's not his fault. Why? Because that's what a leader does. A leader doesn't literally go off and say, "Oh, that's what was the words? That's something there for say Taron Johnson's pick 6. Oh, that's something there for Taron. He'd been
always measured himself in turnovers,
and he had been struggling throughout the year. But that was a huge moment for him. You want to know what happens? They get geeked up for it.
When it was, if Josh Allen will make a bad throw, Josh would never get thrown under the bus in the postgame press conference. When Leslie Frazier, people thought he was in danger of losing his job, Sean McDermott took over the play calling and took all the heat off Leslie Frazier and turned him back into one of the best DCs in the NFL. That is part of the difference, is the Sabres organization, top to bottom, and it's easy. I think it's easy to blame Krueger for everything. I think only maybe 75% of the things that we're blaming him for are actually his fault. There is not a single person in the Sabres organization who is a good leader and has any idea how to steer the ship in the right direction right now. That's the problem. If they had different ownership, or they had, it's also not an enviable position for first-year GM Kevin Adams to try to sort himself through all this. But there is not a single person in the organization who knows how to fix this. And it's evident that they haven't even started trying by getting rid of the coach at this point. They don't know how to fix it at all.
So let's start here.
When you lose 5-2, 5-2, 5-2, I mean, wait, what? It was the same score every night? First off, that's impressive.
It is.
Almost. That is fantastical stuff. That you managed to lose by the same score to the same team 3 games in a row.
You really shoot for a model of consistency. I mean...
That's perfectly consistent.
Oh, and guess what? The last 3 games against the Flyers, they've lost 3-0, 3-0, 3-0.
I mean, Brian Elliott, truly a Vezina candidate.
At least they've scored goals.
If Brian Elliott played the Sabres every night, he would go in the Hall of Fame.
Ever since the shit pumping in the second game of the season, the Flyers have fed them rights all around and going, hey, you've lost 9-0 in the last 3 games to us. How does that
So let's
feel?
talk about, let's finish the Kruger conversation. We're going to put Kruger to bed here, all right? Hang on, I just unplugged my headset.
Nice.
It's whatever. I don't need it anyways.
Man, I hate this guy so much.
We all came in here. He's a great talker, a great communicator. Apparently, it gets us all. You see the videos of him talking, and it gets me excited. You guys have seen them; they're good, right? This guy's gonna come in. He's gonna change the team. He's gonna change the culture. Not working.
He changed the culture.
Yeah,
Not for the better.
yeah, not for the better.
A bunch
The
of
lineup
empty words.
The lineup decisions are terrible. I don't get what he's doing with the lineup. Just put the best players on the ice. Let them go play hockey. The system stinks. He's ruining the best players. Darlene is no longer fun to watch. I think that's kind of a Darlene thing. We'll get back to that confidence. But even what he does in the press conference, after the second or third Flyer shutout, he's in the press conference not even angry. Like, we just gotta remember the things you gotta do in this league to score. That was just like, and he's just like, and something about like more shots. Like, just the worst comments. If I was a good coach would I don't know, be somewhat angry and it's something out of his players, but it's like coddling his team. And I don't get what this dude is doing. I don't know. Get him off the bench. Maybe keep him in the organization. He might be useful somewhere, but he just should not be anywhere near that bench. And my one thing, I've said this a few times, that the one constant since Steve's been very bad is Steve Smith. Why is he still here? Mm-hmm. They sucked when he was here. They kept him when they fired Housley, and they still suck now. I'm not blaming him, but he's one of the constants.
Oh, you can blame him. I think every single coach on that staff should be gone before the end of the year, even if they're not responsible for it. They just, the same way when we had Paul Hamilton on the show, he talked about getting the players, guys like Gergensons, who were here, getting them, even if they're not responsible, just getting a fresh start in the organization. I think the same thing goes for the coaching at this point. You can't expect a change in philosophy with the same people teaching the same system, even if it's not the head coach, even if it's Steve Smith or whoever it is. There is no reason for any of these guys anymore. What they've proven this season is there's not a single guy on the team who's actually improving a player.
The thing is, you never see Kruger coaching. You never see none of the coaches coaching on the bench. These guys are on TV getting shit pumped. They're coming back from TV breaks and they're just standing there leaning against the glass, hemming and hawing. These are coaching opportunities. I don't know. The coaching is just not good. We all were so excited about him. Great communicator, apparently, but I don't fucking know.
It's just bizarre that the team gets worse. Even if they were bad, which they were to begin the season, but if they were bad and it felt like they were at least trying and they were trying different things and they were showing signs of improving, I wouldn't be happy with it. But at least then I'd be like, well, it feels like they're putting in the effort. It doesn't feel like they're putting in the effort. And it's not on the players entirely, in my opinion. Yes, you want all these guys to be self-motivated to try to carry this team on their backs themselves. The problem is for a lot of these guys, and Jack, for example, because he's the captain. How many more seasons do you just tell Jack, well, here's a coach who doesn't know how to put you with the right guys and also is actively sabotaging your favorite teammates, but please go out there and carry the entire team and motivate your teammates for him because he's just going to shit-talk them. I don't understand any of the Eichel hate at this point, especially considering he's playing hurt, even though Kruger won't always admit that. That was another fun thing that happened.
He lied. He didn't even
lied about the injury.
He fucking lied.
And Jack's like, oh, yeah, I got hurt in New Jersey. Oh, okay, bud.
What's going on here?
That's great.
It's crazy.
I forgot that in my
how he's not
personal
yet.
vendetta against Skinner.
I don't know. I don't know how he's not fired yet. If they lose this next game and he's not fired by the time they're off the plane, what are they doing?
And if you're worried about just paying another coach, who cares at this point? Just bring in one of the guys from Academy of Hockey. Let Matt Ellis coach the team for a month or two. Who cares?
They're selling the team and don't want to fucking get rid of make that move.
Steve, I still have a lot in the chamber. I want you to get in on all this shit
there is a possibility here. The possibility is that every player that has ever played for Buffalo in the last 10 years is bad. That's me with my tongue so far in my cheek.
It is mathematically possible.
Thank
Because
you.
It is unlikely.
Because players were good before they got here, and then they get here. Eric Stahl made the All-Star game last year.
Yeah.
And now he does not look very good. And then
That's being
players
nice.
and then players leave. Like even players like Braden McNabb and Nate Beaulieu. Nate Beaulieu still plays middle pair minutes for Winnipeg every night. Like he's not scratched. He's not on the taxi squad. Like he's a decent player. I'm not saying he's great, but he's a decent player. Ryan O'Reilly, turns out he's pretty good at hockey. He was good when he was here too, to be fair. He didn't struggle to score while he was here. But Robin Leonard is another, the goaltending is another example.
And he was good here. It was just one thing that he was not good at.
Yeah, the
And people
shootouts, and it
harped
shouldn't
on.
have mattered. But like, there's been so many players, whether it's a depth player or a skill player, like when someone says, well, it happened on the radio today. Oh, well, Taylor Hall won the Hart Trophy years ago. He's older now. I'm like, what? The guy's not even 30 yet. Like,
And
It was in
by
2018.
years, it was 3 of them.
correct. And let's be clear, when he won the MVP, he was on a bad team.
That jersey team was not good.
No. So there is some form, it's like the Space Jam hockey puck exists in the Sabres locker room, that your talent gets sapped away as long as you play here. Because players are good before they get here and good after they leave. And I don't understand. This team is so far from being bereft of talent. For years, it was talent. For years, it was even when they were playing well, they just weren't talented enough to compete. Now it is the total opposite. They should be talented enough to not only compete, but be, a contender, at least for the division. And instead, they are the worst team in the NHL by a mile. Not forget the points percentage, forget the standings. They're the worst team in the league. Even beyond that, like they could have won their first 20 games and could be in 4th place right now. And if they were playing like this, they'd be the worst team in the league. Like they are the worst team in the NHL.
They have 3 top 2 picks on the team. Where was Taylor Hall drafted? Number 1? Was he number 1 pick?
Yeah.
They have 4 top 2 picks on the team.
Taylor versus Tyler.
Darlene, Eichel, Sam, Taylor, all top 2 picks. And they have guys like Riley Sheehan was a 1st-round pick. And
Jeff Skinner.
Curtis
Jeff
Lazar.
Skinner, yeah, Lazar. And they just
Egan,
can't,
maybe?
can't
Probably was a
figure it
first-round
out.
pick.
Risto.
Risto? Yeah.
Risto was a top 10 pick.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at this roster and you got to think, what the hell is going on? Didn't we before the season think, with them bringing in Hall, with Eichel and Hall and Olofsson and Reinhardt and
We did because I got shit on for saying that they wouldn't be close to a playoff spot, but I didn't think it was going to be like
I was gonna say,
this.
this is even worse than that. But we were talking about, over the course of an 82-game season, they could get 100 goals from their wingers. They're not going to score 100 goals as a team. They might not get to 100.
I sat here saying the Islanders weren't that good.
Yeah. Yeah. They're first in the
They're
they're first in
0-6
the division.
Yeah.
Here's I've been wrong about the Islanders forever. As a
Their roster
true
is
Metro
not that-
Division fanboy, the Islanders are at any given time 100% better than anyone thinks they are because they play such a weird style of hockey. No one knows what to make of them, and they just score 4 goals a game.
It's not weird. It's the right style of hockey.
No,
For
it
their-
is not.
For their roster, it is.
Matt
For the
Barnes-
roster, it might be, but I hate Barry Trotz.
He's a fucking great
He's a
coach.
great
Great
coach.
coach.
He's a great coach. He knows what he's doing.
Sorry, we
That
cut
doesn't
off.
mean that I don't hate what he's doing to hockey.
We cut off Jeff.
That's fine. I was saying also Matt Barzell scored one of the fucking
Yeah.
filthiest goals I've ever seen in my life. And
that
it's,
was nasty.
Poor Risto.
this like
He
I
didn't
feel
deserve
bad for Risto. He
He
didn't
didn't
do
deserve
anything
that.
wrong. It just Barzell completely read him, and I feel bad for Hutton because the people are gonna be like, oh well, you're like. Yeah, okay. Anyone try to go out and stop that guy who was able to stop on a dime and go, but he didn't even get it off the ice very much.
Oh, it didn't matter. That
It just
didn't matter.
So nice.
He put 2 guys down that didn't deserve it.
And they go and score 4 goals in a row in the second period. The game's over.
Their roster is not a great roster. It's a very average. They're just well coached. And, everyone wants to dog on the grit players, the hard nosed players that hit, the dirty players. Who did the Sabres get fucking killed by? Miles Wood, Matt Martin, Tom Wilson, Kel Clutterbuck. Let's keep it. We can go.
Let's slow the fuck.
Oh, did I
down
say
on
Tom
that.
Wilson's name? Sorry.
No. Not because of that. Think about the plays that they've had to make. Tom Wilson tried some EASHL pass after Tage Thompson gives him a blatant turnover in the Buffalo zone. And he just goes, fuck it. I'm going to throw it this way. See what happens. Because this is literally too easy. He could have just stepped in and sniped. Matt Martin scored from the other side of the goal line.
Yeah.
These aren't
Off
impressive.
Johansson's
That
face.
was a nice shot.
It was a nice shot.
Actually, perfect shot. It's
And
just
it
you never
takes-
believe. Yeah.
He was
Off
going
of his
for it.
head.
He hit it.
And as a goalie, not only did you give up a goal, but now you got a fucking headache. But it's not like they're doing world-breaking things like
He's-
Matt
he-
Barzal did.
They're making
Do
the
you wanna-
plays to get the pucks, those positions.
But what did you just say about Barry Trotz?
He's a good coach.
That the Islanders are well-coached,
Yeah.
and they have not the most talented roster. Meanwhile, we've got some dipshit. I'm swearing a lot
We're
today.
done with
You
Kruger.
No, we're not. I said I had a lot to still go on. This guy goes ahead and takes this talented roster and shoves it all the way up their own ass. Right up their ass. This man has made it so that I can't enjoy hockey. And now it's personal for me. Fuck this guy. Do not elevate him for player operations, because I do not trust some idiot that decided that last year Vlad Sobotka, top 6 center, would be a good idea.
This podcast that you can't listen to out loud at work because we're swearing so much is brought to you by Bose headphones. Bose headphones, keeping your swearing podcasts in your own ear. It's the frustrating part. Well, the frustrating part. One of several frustrating parts is knowing that now we are about a month away from the trade deadline now. It feels, and I don't know who it's going to be, it feels inevitable that at least one of these guys who we would like to keep is going to be gone. They have to do something, and the price for one of these guys is going to be good enough. I don't know who it's going to be. Knowing that one of these guys on this team right now who can't score 2 goals is going to go and have a cup run.
Is it though? I mean, think about it. Like, oh no, you want to know the best part? It's probably going to be the guy who's leading the team in goals, in Sam Reinhart.
Yeah, he's going to pull the most value. And I'm always once advocated for trading him, but I'm dialing that down because he's been so good when everybody else hasn't. He looks good out there most games. He was not visible a lot of the times to be, but like with Jack not being visible at all, or anybody else for that matter, I think he's played pretty good this season. And he leads the team in goal.
And you know what? One thing he's doing right now that people have always wanted him to do? He's doing a lot of this on the line without Jack.
And you know what he's doing? He's going to the fucking net. Like nobody else is doing. We have this system where they just want shots, and they're all coming from the perimeter. They're not going for quality shots, they're going for quantity of shots. And they're all coming from the outside. And they're looking for garbage goals, but no one's going to the garbage areas. It's like the dump and don't chase. It's like,
shots don't fucking matter if nobody's following up the puck, nobody's screening. Nothing happens.
They're running the Golden State Warriors offense on ice, and it only works when there's a net and no one defending it.
who leads the team in goals?
Sam Reinhart.
Who's the one that goes in net every time?
It's
Sam
like there's
Reinhart.
a coincidence.
That's where he goes. Every time he's in the offensive zone, he goes right to the net.
There was a game maybe 3 weeks ago. I was talking to my buddy James as it was on. Winnipeg was playing Ottawa. Shots were 20-8 in favor of the Senators. The score was 3-0 Jets. Because as much as shot volume has a place, it doesn't.
Nope.
It doesn't. The Sabres for years, like when they first brought in O'Reilly, they were out shooting teams every night, but they weren't winning because they didn't know how to finish. They didn't know how to, protect their own end, whatever. Ultimately, I don't care about quantity of shots. You know what I mean? Like in theory, it sounds good. If your offense is going well and, guys are hot, you might just be like, hey, just get it to the net. It might go in because you're hot. That's not the case for the Sabres. And then on the other side of it, did you take the picture, Justin? Brandon Montour cutting in and it didn't end up in a shot on goal. God, yeah. So Brandon Montour has got both defenders behind him. He's kind of shielding the puck away from one of them, and he has someone driving backside of the net who is covered. But the fact that you're able to take a snapshot of that and say this didn't result in a shot on goal, that makes me want to rip my own teeth out with a dirty set of players because it's ridiculous.
Look at, I dogged on Cody Eakin at the start of this too, but like he put a shot on net and Taylor Hall crashes for rebound and he scored his first goal since the season opener. And that is something that is to be accounted for. Yes, there is something to say about, you have more shots, it means you have the puck, but last year's Sabres kind of proved that that's not always the case. You remember the fourth line, the log line, and how they were dominating possession. They were eating up that Corsi. Fuck Brandon Montour, because I'm looking at this image for the first time. And I almost saw red because that Kroger plastic bag there, I thought that said Kruger, and I was about to start shredding.
Oh my gosh.
But back to what Steve was saying. They're like, that log line kind of reminded you of that because there was a lot of point shots from that group. And more times than not, when Gergensons or Oposo or Larson were cleaning up things, it was because of a point shot, but they were there and they were cleaning it up, and that's how they would score their goals. But more times than not, it wasn't quality. It was point shots, it was outside, but they had the freaking puck the whole time.
Just imagine, sorry, this roster could still have Zemgus Girgensons on it. This lineup every night.
It would for lack of injury.
Yeah, as I'm saying, it would.
Yeah, it would absolutely. And he'd be playing. He wouldn't be playing instead of Oposo, or someone he'd be playing instead of Skinner.
So after were you done with your point? I interrupted you.
Yes and no. I still have one last pot shot on Ralph Kruger. I need to get this all out of my system.
Okay. All right, do it so I don't fucking have to hear about it.
Coming in, I had hope like everyone else did because he sounded different. He sounded like he listened to science, like the sports science. He sounded like he was listening to the analytics, and he sold all of us. And now I can't watch this team. I legitimately cannot stand watching this hockey team right now. They suck. And it's not even just about the fact that the players have quit on this coach. They just suck. Mm-hmm. And it's like Sabres Twitter, and I'm going to get to that one. Couple of dipshits from Sabres Twitter are like, oh, Rasmus Dahlin. First off, if it was only him, then you would have your points. Mm-hmm. But it is not. It's Eichel. You lied about him playing hurt. It's Hall, who trips on a breakaway by himself, not impeded. It's Skinner, the one goal from a $9 million forward who you scratched for 3 games. It's Olofsson and the continued insistence of playing someone who's an elite power play producer, but insisting on playing him on the first line. It's Montour. It's Stahl. It's so many of these players. Colin Miller has been frustrating this year. When did we say that? Every one of these players on this team has hit a regression to the point where it is embarrassing. So you cannot go ahead and have the balls to say, hey, here's Jeff Skinner's numbers and here's his analytics. He looks like shit. First off, we see that. But I think that that's a confidence issue because this coach has him so far up his own ass that he doesn't know what to do anymore. But the other thing is...
The whole team's a confidence issue at this point.
I know. But the thing is, if it was just him, I would be willing to listen. This man has killed so much promise from this team. It's embarrassing. They are out tanking Detroit.
They're all tanking
Ottawa.
They're all tanking the tank team.
They are on a worse point. I was going to just say that. They're on a worse point production pace than the tank.
And they have
a team that was built with Matt actual D'Agostini in the lineup.
Yeah.
At least Matt D'Agostini went to the net.
You know, I didn't realize how hard.
Remember how it was Dogecoin to the moon? This is my final thing. No. Throw Ralph Kruger on the moon.
Let's even drop a fucking mic. You're buying all of them.
I dropped it from like a foot.
Doesn't matter.
Can I reframe the conversation for a minute here? Take it away from the coach and everything.
I tried that twice.
I know. I was going to help you because I also wanted to talk about something else. So we are, as of this recording, we're about a week and a half away from when the Sabres will be allowed to have a limited capacity of fans back in the stadium for the first time since everything started. Now, I remember back when I was in college and high school and all those great days in the 2000s when the Sabres would play a game that had some meaning, and you not only could you sell the entire building out full of people that wanted to scream their heads off, you could fill the entire plaza outside, every bar and restaurant in Western New York. And I know that they're obviously not going to do that right now, even if they could. But I remember what that was. I'm assuming everyone here has been to at least a couple, if not a handful of Party in the Plaza games if you couldn't get your hands on tickets.
They're the best.
The experience of being out there under the tent, watching with everyone it wasn't quite the same as being in the building, but it was an incredible communal experience, and in its own way, it was something truly remarkable. That is something that a lot of hockey fan bases especially American hockey fan bases, that doesn't just happen. Like something we might take for granted here that it happened in our lifetimes. But that's not a thing that happens everywhere. Not by any means. Not even for big playoff games. Not for Stanley Cup games. We are not super far removed, to 10 years roughly removed from when those stopped happening and stopped making the playoffs. The fact that this organization has found a way to go from that to a point where I'm not actually convinced they're going to be able to sell a 20% capacity of the arena to season ticket holders is astonishing. And you can blame it, you can't even just blame one specific thing. It's a whole timeline of moves and decisions and things. It's like the Kruger's quotes telling the fans that you know more than them last season and then firing Jason Botterill. The organization has taken lifelong fans who would chop off their own hand to go to a playoff game 10 years ago and has just taken the life out of this fan base. And assuming that in October or November, whenever the next season is going to start, that they can have fans back in as normal, I have no reason to believe that building is going to be even close to full. And I don't know how they stem the tide at this point. It is embarrassing to this fan base the way that this has gone on.
See, I thought I heard 10%, but still, this is
Yeah, point stands, but yes.
Yeah, point stands. But let's put that in perspective. A 19,000 seat building, 10% is only 1,900 fans, 20% is 3,800. And yeah, I think you're right about they might struggle with that. 1,900 is not much more than the Harbor Center across the street.
Listen, that's not going to be a cheap ticket.
No.
All right.
No. Plus having to get yourself
Plus
tested.
you're paying for a COVID test.
That's what I'm getting at. And you're going to have to pay for a COVID test.
But I'm saying 10 years ago, they would have been, people would have been fighting each other in the streets for those tickets.
There was like waiting lists, weren't there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Furthermore, you think about the fact that they have to pay for that COVID test, and they have to, and those tickets aren't going to come cheap. Right now, the way that this team is playing in a normal setting, they're not selling games out.
I wouldn't.
Tickets are $4, and people are not going.
Yeah, this is $20 seats behind the bench energy right now.
Last year, I was turning out free work tickets.
Yes,
because it's free ticket in the club section, but like, I'm paying for food. I'm getting at least 3-4 beers.
You're getting your way down there.
Parking. I'm going out to the bar after. That's at least $100 night still. I was turning down free tickets in the Harbor Club.
Yeah, it's with all of that you have to think about, and then I'm just here thinking, in a normal year, they're not selling out the building. It's going to look embarrassingly empty anyway.
It's been a church. It's been a church for 5 years to begin with. Let alone this is we've had some low points every season. This is the lowest by a lot.
Remember how
how much do you have?
Like
to hate
Kevin
yourself?
Adams said in that one press on the radio, it was a likable team. This team is not anywhere near likable right now.
No,
the players hate talking to the media. They talk to the media. They're super fucking condescending. The coach is fucking an idiot with the media. Like, I guess I would be the same way too. That you
if only they had a happy $9 million a year forward who loves talking to the media and smiles all the time. Could we put that guy on any of the press conferences?
Even they had him on the press conference about after being benched for games, and he was all smiling and laughing, having a good time.
Yeah,
put him on.
He's the best media guy on the team.
And best yet, the question: do you envision yourself playing anywhere but here? No. And it was so quick, precise, and meaning.
Maybe they do like him. Maybe they just stink. We don't know. We don't know that.
The other thing about this really, it really is just, I doubt this is going to be my strong take. This is going to be my strong take. Thinking about how I've
this one.
Yeah, this is because
just leave the mic in your hands.
This is a prediction. They don't get 1,000 people in there.
Probably not.
I wouldn't be shocked.
I don't think they get 500.
Not a strong take. I think you're right.
Especially with no secondary market sales and everything. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. And I hope that this lets the Pagulas go ahead and look at themselves and go, maybe we don't know hockey. Stop interfering with this team. Be hands off like you are with the Bills because you don't know hockey. Shut the hell up.
It'd be 300 people all on the one side of the rink where the TV cameras face.
Yep.
It looks more full.
What if you get 400 people in there and they're all chanting "Fire Kruger" the whole game?
Oh gosh! What if they get?
First off, they get 400 people. I'm fucking impressed.
Dude, the first game in, what if they get booed?
They're gonna.
That's what I'm thinking. It's going to rain boos.
Fans and they lose. What if the God forbid they get shut out? the first game back with fans. Like this
Do we
team
know
is gonna
when that
get
first game is?
It's the 20th.
off the ice. Let's take a look here.
If it's
I got the
Boston, I
schedule
swear to
It's
pulled
around
up.
that time.
If it's Boston, I swear to.
And also, they haven't played the Bruins yet this year. That's gonna be fun.
Yeah, they're not going to score that game probably.
Wah, wah, wah.
It's the second of a home.
and it's a 1 o'clock matinee.
Oh, it's an afternoon game too.
Yeah.
Bring your kids downtown. Let's watch the Sabres get murdered in front of your very eyes by David Pasternak. I think we broke Derek finally. Derek.exe has crashed.
They play Boston. They're gonna lose 12-1.
They should fire Kruger before that game if they know what's good for them.
So let's hire a real coach. Like let's not get these weird like Ron Ralston, Phil Housley.
Isn't Gerard Gallant still out there?
Gerard Gallant is still out there. Coached a pretty good team recently.
Yeah,
Like,
rumor has it. Yeah.
He got fired after playing the Sabres.
Right? Yeah, right. That's funny. Ironic enough.
Yeah, Jack scored that filthy goal on Marc-Andre Fleury on a breakaway.
That feels,
best
like,
coach-
that feels like a lifetime ago.
The best coach we've had
was
that they
last
fired way
season.
too soon, in my opinion, is Dan Bilesma. He was kind of a weird coach, but like that guy had like the shittiest roster, but was producing with them. He had like no talent. He had Jack Eichel.
He had Josh George's number 1 D.
Yeah, it's the same.
Liking Dan Bilesma is a slippery slope to defending Ralph Kruger.
So this is interesting to me because Bruce Boudreau's out there, and I know a lot of people don't like him, and I'm not going to have the numbers
His
right.
face.
Bruce Boudreau's coached something like 13 seasons between Anaheim and Minnesota. How many times did his team win the division?
A bunch. And then they
How many
ended up
times?
in the playoffs.
What's your guess? How many times did his team win the division? Of the
Anaheim.
13,
I'll take 10 to 13.
eight times his team won the division.
Anaheim won a bunch of divisions in Washington.
They won the cup though. One and then
Not under him.
Yeah, and then he's made the playoffs like all but one season. You know how many times the
Season
Sabres
he got fired.
You know how many times the Sabres have won their division in their history? Less than 8. Bruce
think it's
Boudreau
4.
has coached 2 different teams to more division titles than the Sabres have in their history.
Does Bruce Boudreau want this job?
No.
Probably not.
I mean,
but,
you
know.
got like number 3 center in the world.
It's still an NHL coaching job.
Ready?
Like
Yeah.
at some point for someone that's
He's
not
going to get at least $1 million.
If he was coaching another team right now or just got fired, maybe not. But he's been without a job for a while.
He's going to
and
get
there's only
part
30,
of the original bar of
and there's
716,
only
so any
32
money
teams
left.
to coach for, including Seattle. There's not a lot of jobs out there. And between the coaching
let's think about this.
carousel, but
I wonder how weird it is to hire a coach mid-season right now. Do they have to quarantine?
Probably.
Like, so you're at the fire your coach, and if
Yep.
not, you're going to try to keep it quiet. You can't keep this shit quiet. If you're hiring a coach, it's going to be out like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to hire a coach, try to keep it quiet while he quarantines. But meanwhile, someone's going to know that they're being fired imminently. It's going to be really awkward situations because it's got to be really weird. That's maybe why it's not fired.
I think there would be an interim period where name assistant coach here would be the head
Steve
coach.
Smith, baby. Let's roll.
bring up the Amherst guys.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Kevin
kind of
Adams is going to do it.
That's what I say. Bring some of the Academy
do it
hockey guys over.
myself.
I'm not kidding.
I'm not saying that Tuz and Tim Kennedy and
was
Matt
a
Ellis
coach.
are the answer, but at least like those guys at least feel like they command some more respect.
Kevin Adams is going to do it.
Sure. What the hell?
He was.
not?
I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if Kruger's let go and Adams takes over for the rest of the year because then the Pagulas don't have to pay somebody, which who knows what the money situation is. Kevin Adams can coach, and I think in part, like listening to the way he talks about like them not playing a hard enough game, like when he did his press conference and he's like, "Look, the game is different now." And yeah, when I played, you had toughness. You had to be willing to take a cross check in the face and punch somebody. Now that toughness is a willingness to get to the front of your own net and clear it out and get to the front of their net and take some chops and some whacks to get there. And he's talking about that like grit and that toughness that you have to play with. So if that's the way you envision your team playing and that's the game that you played, because Kevin Adams was totally the hard-nosed guy that went to the dirty areas, who better to do it for the rest of the year? Then you don't have to worry about the quarantine and
They
all
don't
that
have
jazz.
any of those guys. They have Cody Eakin, maybe, but he's
Sam.
not in that role on this team. He's playing like.
But there's no reason that other guys can't drive the net.
yeah, but they're not even doing that.
I know, but there's no reason that they
Victor
can't.
Olofsson, the world's elite, the world's most elite perimeter player, just- even 5-on-5. They said it rated. He gets 5-on-5, he gets his zone, he goes right to that power play spot. He's not doing anything 5-on-5.
But even if he does a flyby in front of the net, you know what I mean? If you're coaching him, look, you're not going to you're not going to just post up in the face-off circle. Your job is to just do a flyby in front of the net. Even if he doesn't stand there and post up and have to like tie up sticks with somebody, just drive the net.
It could be some form of interference for seeing the puck.
Correct. Instead of setting up on the perimeter. Look, I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you are making. Your job is to get to the net. And I don't mean stand in front of it and screen the goalie. You might need to just drive the net or skate back and forth in front of the crease. Anything to create traffic and look for a rebound.
And any movement can make it hard to concentrate, pick up the puck, see. You know, it changes everything.
There's one thing that I do want to come back to real quick with you, Steve. Mentioning that Gallant, Boudreau, there's some high-profile coaches out there. But now you have to ask yourself, not just the quarantine aspect of it, but why? Why are they still available? Those guys, if they are to be hired, it's going to be their last shot. Hockey is known for rotating their coaches and hiring the old guard. But when you fail too many times or you get fired too many times, it eventually runs out.
No, it doesn't.
I don't know, because like Daryl Sutter got rehired.
Yeah, I don't know.
Peter Laviolette will like his job or fuck he wants to.
But
with that hair, you can't blame him.
But I think that some of these guys,
jawline.
Boudreau, I would imagine more so, wants his last chance, I would say, based on, some form of that reputation with the playoff failures. Why would he accept a play here? Why would Gallant want to coach here?
Because where else are they going to go?
Well, where else are they going to go? I'd rather take my chances on an expansion team with Seattle than the dumpster fire that currently is Buffalo.
And then when that job's filled, the other guy can come here.
Right. That's what I mean. Like, there's only so many jobs available. That's the problem. And if you want to get into a good situation, you probably don't have an opportunity to coach because it's, you know what I mean? They already have a good coach. So I don't know. Like,
a good coach makes
there's better situations. There's 31 better situations than Buffalo.
But there's not 31 positions available right now.
A coach like Bruce Boudreau would be confident.
That means there's one.
He could do something with his roster.
I was just going to say they have pride. I can fix that. It's this whether it's true or not. They have the belief.
You know what's
that
crazy
they can
about
fix
this
it.
team? The crazy part about this team, they have they're the best power play in the fucking NHL, and they're in like last place. Yep. But they're the best power play.
But Justin, they did when they had O'Reilly too. When you had O'Reilly and Eichel out there every power play, they were the top power play in the NHL, and they didn't make the playoffs.
Steve mentioned the reason why, though. If you never go to the front of the other team's net and you're never physical with the other team in front of your own net, how are you drawing penalties to go on the power play? This team makes it really easy to defend them. When you play from the outside all the time, the defender doesn't have any motivation to go take you off the puck in the corner at the blue line. Colin Miller's firing pucks into guys' ankles. Like, you don't take penalties out there. You're not drawing penalties there. Yes, Steve. He is so excited about it.
Who draws the most penalties on this team?
Jeff Skinner.
There it is, baby.
Because he skates hard, he goes to the net when he's allowed to play, and he's not in the press box.
I didn't notice how hard this team wasn't playing until after the Dylan Cousins fight. It sounds so stupid, but like the 3 shifts after that, they were crashing the net. They were staring up in front of the net. You don't see them staring up in front of the net at all anymore, even in front of their own net.
Just say you can just leave it. You don't see them stirred up.
But like the 3 shifts out there, Kyle Post was flying into the goalie. Someone else was flying into the goalie. It's like, holy shit! I haven't seen this.
I'm gonna nip this in the bud right now. They mustered 5 fucking shots after that.
Yeah, it didn't last very long.
Down by 1.
But for a brief bit,
and then they all talk about like, oh yeah, we got
spark. No, I just muted you. No. I just muted you. I just hit my mic on an accident.
Justin tried to pull the single mute and pulled the old, I'm also going to mute myself. Call the ambulance, but not for you.
Don't worry, I will still be heard.
The Cousins fight is one thing. You know what? And maybe this is dumb of me. The time that I noticed that they weren't playing hard was one of those 3-0 Flyers games. They were on a penalty kill, and James Van Riemsdyk is in front of the net like he likes to be. He's parking his body in front of the net. And he is... Yeah, you're good. I can hear you now.
I can hear.
So JVR is... Not only is he like in front of the net, he's got his left hand off his stick, and he is directing Provorov where to go at the point. He is pointing, hey, Jake, why don't you go over here? Provy can go over there. I've never seen a forward be given the kind of time in front of a goaltender. Like, in Kevin Adams' day, and maybe that's why I'm not kind of... It's sad that I'm kind of warming up to the idea of Kevin Adams coaching this team because I don't think it could be any worse. In Kevin Adams' day, if you parked yourself in front of the goalie for 30 seconds and you pick your glove off your stick, Scott Stevens would have thrown you 40 feet the other direction. The fact that no one even put a body on JVR is scary. And I give a lot of credit to Cousins, but it shouldn't fall on the 20-year-old kid to be the spark plug.
How about he pummeled that
Hang
guy,
on. He
though?
did. It was fantastic. I have
shit
my
bumping.
respect for Cousins. First of all, I thought he was playing well the season
Yes.
before that. The fact that he took it upon himself to be that guy, that is leadership. That is a kid who wants to be part of the solution of this team.
There's Charlie Lindgren, and he tuned him up.
He did.
Yeah.
And no one knew he had it in him either.
So the other thing though about that was like, how about this? That game that happened, was Risto back in the lineup yet?
I don't think he was.
Because Rasmus Ristolainen alone is putting you into the ice. Jake McCabe is putting you into the ice.
Yeah, McCabe's a guy who definitely would.
Oh yeah, he would have been like if it wasn't Risto, it would have been him.
Yeah.
And it's not like they don't have players like that. It's just the fact that they are just the way that they're
They're
coached,
doing an offense.
the way that they're coached. And I'm trying to avoid going back at him, but overall, this team is not well coached. With this talent, they should not be this bad.
I mean, what was it that I pointed out? Was it Saturday? Where you had Dahlin coming back on defense, Olofsson back with him, taking the guy in front of the net, and Ristolainen just looked like he was out on a Sunday skate in the face-off circles. I mean, there's just too many of these smooth brain moments that it's kind of like...
They're not good enough to make up for him, though.
Yeah.
Right.
And I will continue to give Ristolainen a pass because I don't think he should have even been active for that game.
No.
The guy's, and he's never, Risto's never going to be one of those guys who takes himself out of the play because he wants to be there for his teammates. For his own benefit, they had to give him that Saturday game off, especially in a back-to-back after the comments that Kruger made on Thursday.
I don't remember who was talking about this, so I'm stealing the idea and not giving credit. I'm sorry, but the Sabres are, no one in this room, don't worry. The Sabres should be so well equipped to carry the puck through the neutral zone from blue line to blue line.
Chad.
Yeah, and they don't. Like, you have Eichel, you have Hall, you have Skinner, who are great forwards that can skate the puck. You have Rasmus Dahlin, who made an entire career in Sweden of just making dudes look stupid, taking the puck
Montour
from
was
this
acquired for that reason.
from taking the puck from center ice to walking
And he
it
was
in on
decent at it
goal
in Anaheim.
to finish. So is the problem that they're not feeling like the freedom to skate the puck that way? Do they not feel free to do it because of a system or whatever? Or are other teams taking it away, which it just doesn't feel like that should happen. Like, they should be able to carry the puck through the neutral zone. Because you talked about dump and not chase. I agree. This team, there's teams that have, when the year the Ducks won the Stanley Cup, they dumped the puck in and absolutely put you the cheese grater to your face. You know, that puck would go behind the net and you were going to get
Carlisle
hit.
baby.
Yeah, and it worked. And the Sabres are not that team.
Can't do that anymore.
And Dmitry Filipovich was asked on a scale of 1 to 10, how much is this scheme a square peg trying to fit into a round hole? And he laughed.
Yeah.
Because he's watching, now he's from Vancouver, but he's watching the way that the Sabres are playing or the way that they're coached to play. And he's looking at the system or the scheme and just saying, this is never going to work.
And that metaphorical question that you had just asked, you already knew the answer to it. Everyone knew the answer to it. Rasmus Dahlin publicly said it. We don't play the way we want to. And when he says that, like, first off, that's a kid calling out the coach. And the other thing is that, hang on, y'all aren't playing the way you want to or you feel most comfortable playing because this guy's just trying to force something down your throat. Why is he still here?
Want to talk about Dahlin? I don't think it's a bust. Do you think it's a bust?
No, and fuck the people that are even trying to insinuate
I agree.
it.
I think he's the only defender on the team that can carry the puck up the ice effectively. He gets into the zone, he dumps it in, sets up a play.
Makes good
Sure, he's
decisions.
a minus 21. I mean, you don't have him on your team to be a good defender. You have him to be an offensive generator off the back end because he gets a play going. But it just so happens
Sharks
that they
fans
can't
for like
fucking
7 years
score.
did not complain about Brent Burns' defensive style.
Yeah.
No, just the fact that his points hurt, but he's fourth on team points, I think.
He's really good at the power play, and I mean making decisions. Where he
Yeah.
goes with the puck, when he has it at the point and has options to go Olofsson to his right or Jack to his left, I feel like he makes really good
Is
decisions.
he
with
strong
the puck.
defensively? No. That will.
Who is?
Yeah.
Who is?
Well, is
On
it
this
that
team?
is it that he's not strong defensively, or is he just like not? He's not like a shutdown defenseman. I don't think
He's not going to be.
But
there.
like, well, true. But he's painted to be some sort of like historic liability, and a lot of the things that he gets blamed for. And I want to talk again. We mentioned it earlier. We're going to come back to it. The goal on, I think it was Sunday when he's out there with Miller. Miller is in the fucking twilight zone,
Chasing.
the play. And Dahlin is left alone. He's got three guys. He's got the guy with the puck coming in on the left wing. There's a guy behind him on the far post, and there's another guy in the slot.
Who
And
he
in,
bumps.
and in that moment, yeah, he bumps the one guy. He doesn't get a stick on the pass, and the Islanders score. And is he the closest defender to that play? Yes. The problem is that he should never be left alone in his own zone at a 3-on-1 when his other defensive partner was back to begin with, and he gets consistently hung out to dry on plays like that. And people are going to say that's the problem. I also, not that I don't care if he's a great defenseman, that's not why you drafted him.
Exactly
You didn't draft him to be Shea Weber, or who's a great stay-at-home defenseman these days. You drafted him to be Erik Karlsson or Victor Hedman. If he's driving the power play as well as he is, and he's able to move the puck as well as he does, that's fine. I don't care if he's sometimes bad at his own end. That's the reason I don't care if fucking OV back checks like people always mean about him.
How often do you see this dude on his own with the puck out of their own end, up the ice, into the zone, on his own? Like 10 times a game. And he makes it look easy.
Yeah, there was one moment that
He's a great player.
It's the best vision of the ice of anyone on the team.
He's a great player.
At this point.
yes.
His points are hurting, yes. But that's because nobody else is scoring. A defender,
It's hard to get assists when no one's
a
scoring.
defender like him are all secondary assists off the breakout or transition. And they're not getting either of those.
You had mentioned TJ earlier.
Yeah.
And TJ had written something mentioning the fact that he brought up that Dahlin, when the entire team is on the ice, shoots a paltry 2%. That's not just his shooting percentage, which is also 2%. The entire team, anyone he plays with, collectively, is so bad at either just not finishing or not generating a quality chance after he has had the puck with them and tried to create something with his vision, that it's just that bad. Like, that's why his points are affected in one way. But the other is bleep. I'm just bleeping myself out here because I'm not even going to say his name anymore.
He who shall not be named.
Kroger.
He's, the Kroger bag.
Giant eagle.
Food Lion.
Darren Poopa. So I think this has to do with the fact that you are, again, going with the square peg round hole. And I feel like that's the most times that we've referenced this saying since that Titans loss from the Bills. But the main problem, again, here is what you had with Phil Housley compared to what you have now is two different players.
That's a lot to say. Fuck.
And yes, I had to bring up Phil Housley. Why? Because the kid looked like a generational talent under him. He has been neutered.
And Montour looked better too.
Montour looked better.
And
A lot of players looked better under Phil actual Housley, the head coach.
Let them play the game.
Skinner
But at the same
scored
time,
40 under Housley.
I think a lot of it was the whole team's having. The whole team has a confidence
Kruger's so
issue.
terrified. I think Kruger's so terrified of his goaltending situation. Not necessarily Linus Ullmark, but on the whole, that he makes them play in or tries to make them play in a shell, and they are not equipped to do that.
Justin, do you think the confidence issue that this team has is due to the fact that they feel like they all have to try to, they can't just play? Like you talk about this sometimes, like hockey at its basis form, you just give these guys a puck, let them go out and try to create. You have talented offensive players. Do you think it's confidence due to lack of confidence due to overthinking, or is it just that they haven't gotten the results?
They're so snake bitten this year. How about earlier this season? But they were generating glorious grade A chances and just getting stonewalled.
Well,
and it even happens this year. They get chances. They're hitting the post 4 times a game.
Wasn't Skinner hitting a bunch of posts?
Yeah,
His shot quality has been insane.
I think they're getting in tight and they're just overthinking it. They're gripping the stick too tight. They're shooting it high. They're trying to pick everything. Now they're not just letting their bodies react. They're overthinking. They're like they say the quarterback's aiming their throw. They're not just letting it be natural. Like they're missing everything and hitting every post. But it's they're just gripping the stick too tight. I feel like
You know what helps with that? A system that lets you play loose. A system that lets you attack.
I'll be curious if Skinner getting the goal finally on Sunday allows you to play a little more free.
Right after.
He had a great third period.
He almost made it. He almost tied the game like 2 minutes later. He made a nice play with his hands. Was that fought off 2 guys and took a top shelf snipe short side and the goalie just happened to get his stick there as a blocker
Varlamov,
save.
yeah.
He got it.
Didn't he have a really nice kick play earlier in the game too that he almost scored on? He was flying Sunday.
Yeah.
Well, Saturday he almost had a nice one too, where he had I forget who was in that Saturday for the Islanders,
Varlamov.
but it just
Because O'Rourke played the second game.
But he had it. He went to the backhand, but all of a sudden the puck just jumped over his stick.
I feel like just once Eichel scores, they're gonna start pouring in for him.
But we said that before, and then he did score 2 goals in 3 games, and it just still doesn't happen.
I think then he got hurt.
Yeah, but he's got to be hurt, dude.
He's absolutely
not even,
hurt.
I don't
He
think
was
it's
hurt.
just
The coach
grunt
lied.
He's just there's a board battle, and he just gets rubbed off. It just stops. And he's never been that kind of player. He's never been a guy that he gives it his all.
Getting rubbed off and stopping. Can you relate, gentlemen?
But the confidence thing I was going
He used to not stop when he got rubbed off.
Yeah.
Now
He's getting old.
Darlene's
Quick
got-
reminder that this podcast is brought to you by Manscaped. Use the code 716sports at checkout.
Sorry, it doesn't go ahead. I couldn't help
Okay.
myself.
It's okay. No, it's all right.
He's definitely playing hurt to your point.
He's
And you
way
can tell
more
because of how he's reacting to the physical nature of the other team.
But I started this all. It started with Darlene. I think that dude has no confidence left in his game. Going back to last season, I can think of 2-3 plays off the top of my head where he tried doing Darlene things with the puck and turned it over. 4 big breakaway goals that lost them games. He has not been doing that stuff ever since. Maybe he's afraid to do that kind of thing. I always say you got to compare him to bigger standards. You're going to get miraculous plays, but you're also going to get the 20-yard backward runs. Bigger Sanders has many yard backwards than he does forwards, probably. And you're going to get that with Rasmus Dahlin. He's going to try to do the shit he does. He's going to fuck it up every now and then. And he made some big mistakes last year. And I think that's why he's not doing the things he usually does with his hands and his vision. He's not being creative at all. He's being very safe. I think his confidence is just shot. The coach is not helping. I just need a coaching change. The system only does so much. The players aren't doing their part either, in my opinion. They're not playing very hard, but they need a coaching change. They got to shake it up.
Yeah, I
Something's
think
gotta happen
at this
quick.
point, just getting I don't care who it is. If it's Kevin Adams, it's fine. If it's whoever, they just need someone to come in, sit in that locker room, and be like, "All right, I still believe in you guys. Let's go out there and fix this group because I think we can win with these people here." They just need someone to go and tell them, "Rasmus, this isn't your fault. Jeff, this isn't your fault. Let's just go out and play hockey. You guys are capable of this."
Do you think Eichel's stopping them from firing a coach? Do you think maybe it looks bad to him, like we can't fire another coach
No,
a year
I
and
don't
a
think
half
so.
in?
It looks worse to be 31st in the NHL again with him there.
True, but I think it could be a factor. Maybe
They'd be the first team to finish 31st twice.
How many coaches will have he had by then? Bilesma
Shit.
Housley Kruger. This would be number 4.
in 5 or 6 seasons.
But it's still worse. It's still not as bad as finishing 31st twice in your tenure there.
I think you just have to keep trying, though. Like, continuity means something when you're good, but when you're not, like, what might have gotten the Bills out of the funk faster than 17 years was not keeping coaches for too long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's hindsight's always going to be 20/20 in that regard, but it just feels like if they ride this out, I don't see it turning around. And even if they make a change and they still struggle, at least you can say we tried instead of staying the course. I don't know.
Yeah. Staying the course just to stay the course is not a good idea.
I'm going to keep it honest with you, Steve. I don't want any continuity from this team. I want everything to be different. I would like to scrap everything I'm seeing on the ice and replace it with something new.
Yep.
And furthermore, continuity is even dangerous when you're mediocre. And that's continuity for the sake of continuity. Continuity when you're terrible is just laughable. It is pathetic. It is something that should not be seen. And I'm going back here to the head of the food chain. If the Pagulas are going to keep pretending that they know hockey and it's going to result in another 31st place finish, keep your hands off of it. We've all been clamoring for a president of hockey ops for a long time now. But we know that Terry is in on this. Why? Because he loves hockey. Maybe you should realize the Bills are successful because you're not doing anything actively. And you managed to hire the right person. You got lucky there too. Sometimes you get the right guy. In a league where literally half the teams make the playoffs, this is, God, you're guaranteeing it at this point, the 10th straight season you don't make it.
Yeah.
One of those teams that has that record does not exist. Never played another hockey game after that. You are tying that futility.
Yeah, and maybe they get lucky again and they hire the right guy for the Sabres. 8th time's the charm or whatever, but I would hope that, and I think that's where, and we were also only a week or two removed from the rumors, about a week removed from right now from the rumors of them trying to sell the team that were quickly shot down because random name bunch of numbers started sharing stuff on Twitter and all of us started fantasy booking it, hoping that it was true because we're all tired of what we see. I do hope those rumors are tied more to them just wanting to hire someone in to take more of a day-to-day role. And that's kind of the impression I've gotten from Chad and
Anthony in particular.
Anthony and Tim Graham and guys like that.
I think someone just take half ownership, like 40%. This just sounds like to me.
I guess we'll see.
We'll
find out sooner than later, I'm sure.
It sounds like they're cash poor, if you ask me.
People were making some jokes.
Sell that yacht.
Huh?
People were making some jokes with the Dak Prescott signing today, saying Josh Allen's going to be paid in Sabres ownership. I'm like, no, that'll be how he leaves.
The only one I saw, and I forgot who it was, so I apologize, but someone just tweeted out the picture from Tiger King of Joe Exotic standing there saying, I'm never going to financially recover from this, being Terry's reaction to the Dak contract news today.
Well, not even that. I hope he never financially recovers from maybe 40 people showing up at KeyBank Center. There's going to be more shots going on from mass vaccination than there are going to be from the Buffalo Sabres.
Can I send the 300s and yell shoot when they're giving out the vaccine? That'd be fun.
I hope they are. I hope someone is. I hope at least somebody
Just
does.
pump it in like the broadcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Like someone that's just like in the back of the line waiting. Just you hear it from the halls.
I just picture one masked guy up in the 300s by himself, way away, just yelling shoot at all the medical professionals, helping keep our community safe. Just give them that little extra motivation, get them through the day, you know?
Oh my God, that'd be great. And have we, there's one extra pot shot about the Sabres, speaking of shots, and the Sabres not taking them. We have yet to mention the fact that they actually played an entire third period where they were trailing in a game and had 0 shots on goal.
Yeah.
How astoundingly terrible
that's one
is
of the
that?
games where the shot. That's the first. The quotes. They got shut out the next game. They had no shots third period. Got shut out the next game. The quote that game that ended with 0 third period shots. Kruger said, "The shots will come." In a confident manner. Like, how are you not? That's not a good message to send. Now you walk in that locker room, I'm fucking firing a puck at the wall. It's like, it's that easy to get a fucking shot in net. Some shit like that.
Gotta pull the Letterkenny and just kick a garbage can.
Like, that's
You gotta do something.
something, dude. He's like, the shots will come. Like, it sounds like you're accepting it. You don't accept that. No matter how much you gotta handle a player or a team with kid gloves, if that's the case of this team.
He doesn't have a problem throwing Jeff Skinner under the fucking bus.
Then
Why
they
not
don't score
label the others.
And then they don't score in this game, and he says, I have to remind them the things you have to do to score in this league.
I think, and the thing, it's so weird too because he has no problem being like, well, I'm glad that he finally fucking figured it out. But he, like, even when he could just be general, like, you can be like, it's not acceptable for us to play the way we did in this third period. We need to do better in creating offense. That sends a message, but it's not like you're not throwing your team under the bus. It's like, we just need to get back to what we know works. We need to generate chances. We need to play better hockey.
No, instead all he says
is like,
is,
no, the shots, the shots will show
not
up.
even that.
We'll get there.
He says it in a way that makes it about him in a different connotation where he's not to blame. It's more or less he goes and says, if we play within our principles, then the shots will be there. And again, I said my thing about the principles. How did we end up back on Kruger? God damn
The
it.
lineup sucks.
Time is a flat circle.
They gotta put,
And the lineup sucks too.
They
You're
can
right.
put Middlestad in there. They gotta put Tage in there.
The lineup doesn't
even
suck.
Even if they don't play good, put Tage in the and let. What are these? They're not even. They're playing on attached squad. They're not developing at all. Like, these are our 2 top prospects in the organization. They're not playing in Rochester. They're not playing in NHL. They're just sitting there, jerking off in the stands, getting rubbed off. We're going to bring them back to
At least
that.
there's lots of room in the stands. You can jerk off socially distanced.
Like, I don't mind Tage Thompson turns
That would
the
be
puck over.
far more exciting than watching.
Tage turns it over, but he's turning it over, playing his game, trying to get the puck to the net. And you know why he's getting benched? Because he's not playing Ralph's game. He's playing Tage's game, and he can't have that. There's no creativity in Ralph's system. It's all Ralph's system, and that's the problem with Ralph's system. There's no creativity allowed
fun.
in the system. It's get the puck to the point,
Listen, Justin,
shoot it on net,
Justin,
crash the net.
why would you
have-
play-
You have some of the most talented players in the fucking world in the team, and they're just taking out all creativity off the team. There's my rant. Sorry.
No, you're not wrong. I thought you were done there. I didn't mean to cut you off a sentence early. Why would you want some excitement by playing a guy like Tage Thompson, Casey Middlestat, Rasmus Asplund, when instead you could night in and night out play the worst line in the NHL statistically by a large margin and not bench a single one of them at any point?
Rasmus Asplund played the one game, 2 games. He was the best player on the ice. the entire game, both times. Skating hard as fuck, fast as he can, to the net, gone, out, back in, whoever the fuck was it, Eric, I think it was Okposo to come back in.
It's like going to like your
Right, 'cause
like your
he's
grandmother's house and there's like an apple pie
like
on
this
the
team-
cabinet, like the window outside. You're smelling that.
I think this team was
You get
afraid-
inside thinking you're getting something new and exciting, and instead it's just a plate with Tobias Reeder, Cody Eakin, and Kyle Okposo for the
They're
40th game in a row.
afraid to hurt veterans' feelings. Bench Kyle Okposo, bench Eric Stahl. Sure, his family's out of town in Minnesota, and he's probably sad and not feeling good about it. You're not playing good, bud. We're gonna put somebody else in. Like, just why don't look at Vlad Sabaka? Were they not afraid to hurt his feelings? They were ready to play him fucking number 2 season all season long. Like, they're playing these fucking bum veterans that aren't doing
Yeah.
it for what reason? Other than their well respected veterans, the team probably loves Okposo, but he's not doing dick.
And
Like,
again,
put in Tage, put him. Middlestaff's producing half a point per game. Nobody else is fucking doing well. Jack
and he's
is.
doing it with
Jack
exclusively
is.
fourth line minutes.
Yeah.
Let's think about
He's
that
been
part.
good.
Yeah, he's been good. And you look at his average time on ice, he's not doing it with a lot of ice time.
We have all these young players. We were talking about this.
Also good for him.
We were talking about this before the year started. How are they going to fit these guys in? How are these young guys who have been developing going to get their time? And they're playing Okposo and Stahl and Eakin and you fucking name it over these guys. Like, where are they seeing?
Reader, yeah.
Andy, Reader's got fucking second most goals on the
Reader's
team,
good.
though.
Yeah,
Who
Reader's
cares?
playing well.
Let's think about something real quick, though. Jeff, I'm still not going to fully accept the fact that this is not a good roster. They have 5, because we didn't realize this part. They have 5 former number 1 or 2 overall picks. Eric Stahl was also one of them.
Isn't fucking Tage and Middlestat?
Well, not
The first round picks, but
overalls.
not top twos.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Like Eric Stahl's another top 2 pick.
You're right.
And again, it's the fact that you're seeing these guys. You mentioned the creativity. Every one of them. This is the most damning thing about this team. For as terrible as they are, for anything, any metric or any statistic that you can see, there's the most damning thing about Ralph Krueger right now. If you were in last place and you at least excited the fans a little bit, you could be forgiven.
I used to watch every
They-
game because Jack Eichel. That's it.
I back to what I said early. I've had plenty in the chamber, and I haven't needed to watch because they're not fun.
Yeah, Jack by himself for a long period of time was worth the
it.
price of admission, worth watching on your TV, because you thought they were going to lose a lot, and they did. But you knew at some point during that game, Jack Eichel was going to do something stupid, and you'd be like, man, that was fun. And they don't, and I think partially because he is playing hurt, you don't even get that these days. Is there talent on this roster? Absolutely. There are some incredibly individually talented players on this roster.
There is a 40-goal scorer on the fourth line.
There are multiple 40-goal scorers on this team. The problem is that one of them is hurt, one of them keeps getting benched, and they keep rolling out one of the worst lines in the history of the sport instead of trying to fix it.
And that's where the problem lies. I will say again, this team inherently has more talent than in previous years.
He's a ton of
The
talent.
problem is when it is being abused, taken for granted, not even taken for granted, just blatantly misused. You've lost me a long time ago.
I wrote about this 4 games into the season.
Yeah, you wrote the
that feels like a
article.
lifetime
Oh my
ago,
god,
man.
What kind of hindsight that one was. The article, "This is bullshit." Man, you did not expect that to be what this team is now.
No.
And that is where it's like, why is this guy still here? And I'm just going to add one little extra FU to someone else. The Sabres are a cap team. The 31st place NHL team is a cap team. Thanks, Jason Botterill. Can't wait to see what you do under the shadow of another GM in Seattle.
You mean
Ass.
cap team?
They're up
to-
against
yeah,
it.
they're-
Oh, yeah.
They're out of money.
They don't.
How have they not bought it up?
This
yet?
team-
They have to this year. They have to, right? Okposo, they got to buy him
We
up.
were looking into it, and
Man,
this
they
year
really
wouldn't
do
have been
have
worth
to.
it. This year
I'm
wouldn't have
going
been
to-
worth
I'm
it
gonna
than
say
next
it.
year.
Yeah, agreed.
Based on
I think this
the
year he still would count 5 against the
Yeah,
cap
it would have been
and 6.
painful to do it this year.
based on the struggles that may be seen development-wise from draft prospects, this might be the time to go ahead. You may be ass right now, but I think that's more coaching than your roster. Give up the first-round pick next year for Kyle Okposo's contract. Do it. It's not only addition by subtraction on your roster, but I swear to God, if you end up keeping Ralph Kruger, then maybe you're going to need that.
Doesn't he have an no movement clause though?
He does.
So he'd have to.
You can waive those
I know,
things.
but
Kyle Oposo will know that he'll never play for the Sabres again. Do you at least want a spot on an NHL team for another couple of years?
I just don't know if that would.
Well,
even
Kyle,
happen.
you can either go to another team and get cut,
Or go
or
to
you can force us
Rochester.
to pay you a bunch of money.
What are they even playing him still? He's not bringing defense.
There's no reason other than feeling like they owe it to him at this point.
right?
And we said it time and time again that we respect him, and we do. But
We do.
It's,
I
it's,
love
the,
the
it's the
guy.
point where you can't you can't play a guy because you respect him and think he's a good guy forever.
He still plays super hard, but
I feel
He tries his fucking ass off. He just doesn't have it anymore.
He-
I feel
definitely-
so bad for him.
he's definitely lost some sort of motor skills when whatever he went through. There's times where like he's just by himself and just like loses the puck. Like
His effort, like no one will ever be able to question his effort level.
100%.
You can tell that he gives 100% effort. And it's just unfortunate that he doesn't have
he doesn't have hands
the
anymore.
talent that he had when he showed up.
He doesn't have the hands anymore. The foot speed, he's gotten slower. He wasn't that fast to begin with. He's gotten slower.
He was
And
never a great skater.
His feet move way faster than his hands now. He's trying to get the hands going with his feet, and it's just not coming.
And it sucks because the guy has fought through hell. And the entire saga of Kyle Oposo was marred by injury and almost a devastating one.
Just put him on the bench and let him fucking get his money. Who gets mad?
You know
about
what?
Hey, why don't we just pay him to coach?
Yes! I was just going to say it. Yeet Ralph, scratch Oposo, let him run the show, and let's just have some different kind
Oh,
of
my
fun.
goodness.
player?
It's absolutely dumb, and they're not going to do it. But it will be better than what we got right now.
Because nothing's worse.
Yeah, I mean, you literally can't be worse than a team that's not scoring last place in the league.
I would never, if you could have, I never would have guessed any of this coming this year. Taylor Hall, Jack Eichel, Sam Reinhart, Victor Olofsson,
Just
Jeff
looking
Skinner.
lost out there.
I never would have seen this coming. There's 4 goals now between $27 million. Is that, I think it's
That-
4 goals.
Yeah, it's pitiful.
This is a situation where where the talent should
overcome
the coaching. It really should. You should not be having the situation, especially with the
You
top end talent.
you play your own game, you get benched. Jeff Skinner was doing Jeff Skinner hockey. He got benched for 3 games. Tage Thompson,
let's
Texas
Eichel, Hall, Reinhardt, everybody play their own game.
you get benched.
You get benched for
How?
it.
You can't bench enough people to do that.
No, you do. Because the players that do it are the ones that get benched.
It should be really funny if
and
he
then it
benched
also
Jack
sends
and
the
Taylor
message
Hall.
to the rest of the players. When a player like Jeff Skinner gets scratched for just playing his style of hockey, that sends a message to the rest of the team going, that could be me.
One thing that we missed, by the way, was that he was 100% going to healthy scratch Darlene for Saturday, and that because he was skating as the extra defenseman Friday, and then amazingly after that Kevin Adams presser, Darlene was back in Saturday. He was 100% going to healthy scratch Darlene for Saturday, and I think the entire internet in Buffalo was going to explode.
I also think that's why the
There's
first
some
line
buttholes
Saturday
on
was.
Sabres Twitter that are like, yeah, maybe he did deserve a game. And it's like, no, shut up.
But that's why I think on Saturday that first line they threw out there was Eichel, Hall, and
Cousins.
Cousin.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
Cousins.
I call
Cousins,
Cousins.
They didn't last very long though.
No, but it was fun for the first 32 seconds when they scored right away.
They played the whole first
Yeah,
game. They played the whole first
scored
game
the
together.
first minute. They
and then
scored the first
they
shift.
took them apart. They started the next game. They
Yes.
started Sunday. They took them apart.
Oh my God.
Pretty soon.
I forgot that they scored 30 seconds into that game. And then, don't like.
It was a nice play by Bryson.
Was good for him.
You get a rare 5-on-5 goal because this team has scored very little more on 5-on-5. They've scored almost as much on the power play as 5-on-5. You get a rare 5-on-5 goal and no, we can't do this. I don't like it.
The start of the season when they put Hall, Eichel, and Reinhardt together for the first time, and they were unstoppable. They had a minute-long shift.
They
multiple
shit
times.
pumped
Was that
Flyers
the first
season.
Philly game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The second
Yeah.
game of the regular season.
They did it both games, right? And then they've been dog water ever since. It's what
I don't understand. And again,
they look
this-
unstoppable.
And some of it is things out of their control, like McCabe having his best career season, he gets hurt. You didn't have a good plan behind Ullmark, who was playing well, and then he gets hurt. Some of these things are out of your control.
Ristolainen.
Should they have? And I know, Justin, you've been banging the drum forever. They should have been ready for something in case something happened to Ullmark, and not just relied on Johansson and Hutton again.
They
You're
were
right.
in the exact same fucking position they were in this time last year.
It turns out Hutton can't stop anything even when he can see.
Minus they aren't in a playoff race this time.
Yeah.
But they are in the exact same spot. All marked down. The exact same goalies. and they did not make a move still.
Mike, I will give Hutton some
That is
credit.
the
He's at least touching the puck when it goes past him.
That
now.
is the definition of insanity. Am I not wrong?
It is, but also, like you said, they weren't even in contention when this happened this
still.
time.
You have to no, that's not an excuse though. You have to prepare to be in contention.
I'm saying it's not the same exact situation.
No.
Because the season was already dead. That's not an excuse for not making a move.
Goaltending spot.
That's not an excuse for not claiming a goalie that was on waivers. Trust me, I know that stuff. I had already given up, personally.
Marc-Andre Fleury's agent was posting a picture of him getting stabbed by a sword in the postseason last year. You couldn't have gotten like a second-round pick to Vegas for Marc-Andre Fleury when they had Robin Lehner.
I don't know if they trade him now. He's playing out of his
Well, they
mind
wouldn't trade
this
him
year.
now, but the point is they shouldn't have waited until now. They should have done this last offseason.
Nah, we had to pay Cody Eakin and overpay Zemgus.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I'm
you
not
had
mad
to pay
at- I'm
Zemgus
not
and
mad
Eakin instead
about
of Larson.
No, I'm not mad with them rolling with Allmark. I'm not.
Here's my thing. I'm going to go.
Oh, no,
back-
I'm not
gonna-
mad with
I'm
Allmark.
going to defend Cody Eakin here. That Eakin, Ryder, Cousins line. How good were they
Yep.
until
It's-
Okposo came back
it's
and they
more-
put Okposo on that line?
Yep.
They have been the worst line in hockey since Okposo came back. They were really good with Cousins on that line.
Yeah, there were games that they were the best line the Sabres had.
Well,
they were
those
very
two
good
guys
for the whole
need a
60
guy who can
minutes.
go into the corner and go to the front of the net and cause chaos and create some chances, and that is not a poser right now.
They're getting all the defensive zone starts, and they're not playing much offense that line. That's the thing. They're getting all the D zone starts.
Yeah. I'm just saying they looked much better then because when they did have the puck, they were able to do something with Cousins because Cousins was going into the corner winning puck battles. He was going to the front of the net, one of the few guys who was willing to go to those high danger areas. And I think Reeder's been fine. Actually, I've had no
Reeder's
problems
been
at all with
fine.
Toby Reeder.
Ready? I think that third line had a lot more to do with number 24 than anything else. Than even that it does that 21 is on there now. I think Cousins changes things with any line that he happens to be
That's
on.
what I was saying.
Yeah.
It's so
Absolutely true.
like Mike had mentioned. It was a 5-on-5 goal in the first shift after you've been shit pumped 5-2 each of the last two games against this team. Why? Dylan Cousins is there in front of the net, taking attention away so that Bryson can get in there and throw an impressive shot over the shoulder of Sorokin. Cousins seems to, and it's not reflective of his point totals, he seems to change the dynamic of any line that he's on. And is now one of the few glimmers of hope. If this team has to blow it up, and I mean blow it up, speaking the unthinkable kind of blow it up, you know Dylan Cousins is the one that you are not going to take with the floorboards. He's the only thing that's going to stay, along with Rasmus Dahlin, if they have to do the unthinkable.
Justin, I got to force myself to be more mindful of defensive zone starts. That is the one stat that I know it matters to how a guy plays, and I can never ever think about it. Ever. I just have I've gotten Corsi, I've gotten expected goals, defensive zone starts. My brain just does not process.
Jeff Skinner gets a lot of defensive zone starts.
Well, when you're on the fourth line, as most $9 million contract 40 goal scorers are, you get a lot of unfavorable starts.
It's almost like it's like Kruger's trying to do to Skinner what Ruff was doing to Vanek, make him a solid two-way player. That's not what you're paying Jeff Skinner $9 million for. Just like it's not why you drafted Dahlin to be a number one defender.
His defense has been fine actually this year. Why the hell are you still punishing him?
Correct.
He's actually been fine.
His expected goals for is one of the few positives on the team.
His expected goals against is actually one of the better amongst the entire roster.
Yeah.
This small dude who shouldn't be good physically is actually good in his own end. You're like, well, let's keep him down there now because he's doing well in that role.
Yeah, no.
Instead of putting him with Jack Eichel where he belongs.
Or even just on the second line with Taylor Hall or
But
something.
what is Riley Sheen doing on this story? He's just a fucking meat vehicle out there.
He's taking face-offs and then getting...
Playing first line
Away
when
from
Jack's hurt.
Put in
Can't forget that part.
Scoring.
Cannot forget that part. That
Put
when
in
you're
Asplin. Put in Ruotsalainen.
no Ruotsalainen's in Rochester. They won't even let him touch.
Put in Tage. Put in Middlestat.
They've made it clear that Ruotsalainen is not playing in the NHL this year. Which
Honestly,
you
I
can
don't want
totally
him.
be upset
Good,
about.
because it's the last year of his contract, so why would he come on?
I don't mind that he's not touching this dumpster fire.
I think it's
Well,
last
he can
year
go
of his
touch a
due.
different
I
NHL
think-
roster next year because why the hell would he resign here?
I think it's the last year of his due. I'm pretty sure.
It might
That
be.
sounds
I'm good
right.
at
That
being
sounds
wrong on
right
this
to me.
stuff. I'm pretty sure it's a 2-year deal.
Just say it with confidence and we'll doubt you. It's the last year of his deal. End of sentence. There you go.
Okay,
Good job,
good.
Justin.
Well, I think Steve's cap-friendlying this.
He is, but I was trying to grab that up before Steve did so. I was trying to help Justin out.
Yeah, it's okay. we may be pissed off to all hell, but we also kind of want to be right.
Amherst are playing pretty good.
They are.
Whoop-de-doo. I don't live in Rochester.
Head coach Seth Appert, we old podcast
Yeah, guest of the show.
back when I think we were interviewing him.
Was he coaching Kasdorf at
He
the
was
time?
coaching Jason Kasdorf. Yes.
Seth Abbott, who was also when Canisius hosted the U.S. National Development Team 18Us, he was coaching the 18Us a couple years ago. So that's a guy who knows how to develop young players, and it's great. I'm a little jaded on it because I feel like Rochester has always been promising from the Baptiste Bailey days to now, and those guys just come up here and get ruined consistently. So while it is wonderful, they're playing well. I just look forward to when I am confident that those guys will translate to the NHL level.
There are no good prospects in the pipeline right now.
Yeah, because the last...
It's Hughes.
I was going to say the last
Or
two
Quinn.
that...
Quinn.
Yeah,
Sorry, Quinn.
Jack Quinn.
Quinn.
But the last two now that you would consider prospects at this point have graduated to the roster. Borgen and Bryson.
I don't want to forget Ryan Johnson because he's good. He played
Ryan
for Team
Johnson.
USA. He's going to be a good middle pair defenseman.
I
for
think
them.
they still see some things with...
R2 has 1 year left
Okay, so
After this year?
So
Yes.
Ruotsalainen's still here. And
through the 21-22 season,
yeah, I think they still have some promising
and he's an
players
RFA at the end.
that you want to see succeed in Rochester.
So is Pilot, for the record.
Yeah. But
Sorry, you're sick.
Shout out to Larry.
Hey, I couldn't leave that one alone.
yeah, no, it just there's a lot of things that this team has done wrong, and it starts at the top. And I think there's so much more that's worse with this team than even the play on the ice and the coaching staff.
They can't develop players. They can't.
That's half
Our
true.
two most promising prospects in the system, Tage and Middlestat, what are they doing? They're on the taxi squad.
I will say though, for every Tage and Middlestat, they're getting some Borgen Bryson lately. So that's nice. But you want to see a little more success than that. I will agree with you, but it's not like there's nothing there.
And of course, sorry, Justin. Of course, you have a kid that is absolutely playing lights out, and he breaks his fucking arm.
Yeah.
And is going to miss 2 months. Like
That sucks.
That's the other part of this too. Like Borgen looked good. Do you remember the 4-on-1 that Borgen broke up because
Oh my God, yeah.
he played it perfectly?
Also, why the hell was there a 4-on-1?
Listen, we're not talking about that, Derek. Okay, we're highlighting Will Borgen making a really good play. Okay, and the dude plays great.
Well, that's
for
what he was thinking.
How long did he play? 3 games? Busted,
Yeah.
broken.
Let me go here with Jack. I'll go real
Literally.
fast. Dude, all the trade rumors swirling. A team calls about Eichel, and all of a sudden he wants to be traded. These rumors are so sketchy and goofy. I don't think he has asked to be traded. And even if that's the case, at the end of this year, they're bottom of the league. He has 4 goals. Does he have the right to ask for a trade?
Yes.
Like, I mean, no, that's not what I'm trying to say. Like, you're part of the problem at this point. Like, you should not. From my opinion, you don't have you're not in the play stat for a trade if you're also not scoring. Like, you're part of the team's issue. I think a lot of it too is we're Buffalo. We have such this need to be wanted and recognized, and I think it's almost like we're rejecting him before he rejects us at this point. It's a typical Buffalo thing, in my opinion.
You can't fire me, I quit.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't think that he's part of the problem thing is entirely true.
That's not what I'm trying to say.
I know.
That's not what I'm trying to say.
But there are people saying
it very
that.
poorly.
Yeah, but there are people saying that. There are fans saying that now, and it's gotten to that point.
but
The
for
toxicity is starting.
But for how many years has he been carrying what production this team has had on his back? Yeah. And don't forget, he's still a young guy. Isn't he like 24? 20,
I think he's 23.
23, 24, yeah.
And
That's crazy, though. He has
it's wacky that he is
18
still
points, 21 games.
playing hurt.
But 6 came in the first 3 games of the year. I think that kind of matters for something.
It does matter. I think, though, that, again, when you look at what he has had to do for this team and the fact that so he's 24. If you're the team, though, this offseason is the last one where you can dictate the rules.
They went to get him. They got him an MVP. They got him an MVP line mate, and they couldn't score goals.
And
together.
it still didn't work. And at some point, I'm even resigned to this. Maybe you do pull the trigger on something this offseason. Why? It hasn't worked for him. It hasn't worked for you. And it's not his fault, and that's okay.
It's got to be something crazy. It's got to be something crazy. It's got to be
It's got to be. It's got to be Duchesne to the.
It's got to be Turcotte and Byfield
Sens.
in the first round pick to the Kings.
It's got to be Duchesne to the Sens. Kind of wacky, like that kind of haul.
And when does he do the next bonus so we can trade him the day before that so we don't have to pay it for like I don't know. Let's just throw it out there: 2 Swedish forwards past their prime, a defenseman, and a first round pick that the other team doesn't like.
Thanks.
Is that trade available from anyone? What's St. Louis doing these days?
It's got to be an absolutely absurd. You don't trade him just because he
having
asked for
a goalie
it.
throw a bitch fit for getting pulled.
You don't trade him just for asking for it. You don't just like, okay, here you go, you're out of here. We'll take a fucking bag of pucks.
Right.
You trade him, but you're gonna wait until you get the offer. It has got to be whack.
King's ransom.
And that's why, if they're going to do it, it might be this offseason, because if that limited no trade kicks in, Eichel has control. Or he has to waive that trade clause, Eichel has control.
Mm-hmm.
He could dictate where you can trade him.
Mm-hmm.
If you still have control, that's the best chance you have at hitting a bounty.
This is my favorite player in the world. If they trade him, I might hate this team forever.
I already do.
If it's the Rangers, who are they sending? Because we've heard Byfield, Turcotte, and a pick, which would be a pretty good haul. If it's the Rangers, which is the other team, it's got to start with Lafreniere, but then who else?
They're not trading Lafreniere.
You might start with Kakko.
I don't want Capo
I don't
Kakko.
want Kakko either.
No, I'd take Lafreniere. Like Lafreniere,
Not much else.
Fox.
I would say
Fox is fantastic. Lafreniere's not moving.
I would say,
though.
what
That's
about
not happening?
Kendra Miller?
Condor's good too. But I don't think he can be the
But if
sole featured piece.
If I'm Kevin Adams and the Rangers call me and Lafreniere's not included, I'm hanging up the phone. Because not only do you need a player that's going to be good, they have to be cheap, and on that entry level deal still is huge. Like
If you're trading Eichel and someone's calling you, you're in a position of power. You have the piece that they want,
Yep.
and he's one of the best players in the world.
if the Rangers
You can
aren't
ask
trading
for what you
Lafreniere, I'm hanging up.
want. Huh?
I said if the Rangers aren't trading Lafreniere, I'm just hanging
Yeah,
up.
and he has the power to do that, and it might work.
I'm just saying, if that's their position, they're going to spend a lot of time hanging up because the teams,
fine.
the other
It's
teams in
fine.
the league are going to
Fine.
see
They
what's
don't
happening.
have to fucking trade him.
Right.
No, they don't. I understand that. I'm just saying, what is your motivation if you're the New York Rangers right now? Unless you feel that you're Jack Eichel away from the winning Stanley Cup, which right now they're not. They're not there yet. They have
You're
a lot of
New
good
York
pieces.
City, big market team. They can sell a lot of tickets with that guy in the lineup.
This isn't the Knicks. This is the Rangers. It's not just the team
It
that's
is
going to
New
try to
York
turn it
City.
around like that.
It is New York City. There's a lot of hockey fans in the city.
No, you're 100%. It's not about the fan base. It's not what I meant.
I know.
It is the fact that the Rangers have this plan right now, and so far they've stuck to it about how they're rebuilding the organization. That's why Lundqvist isn't there. It's why they've slowly built up the prospect pool. That's why they're slowly building this team. There is no motivation for a lot of these teams right now to just be like, oh, let me sell all my prospects off for Jack Eichel. Because the only teams that have good enough prospects to make you the deal like the Kings can, the Kings with Jack Eichel are still terrible, especially if they get rid of Byfield and Turcotte. They have nothing. So what is the motivation for the Kings to call you and be like, yeah, let me give you my 3 best prospects in a draft pick so I can bring Jack Eichel onto a bad team? These teams also don't have to make this trade right now. These teams can wait because as the longer this goes on, if the Sabres continue to be this bad, and Jack Eichel is unhappy, why would you not wait if you're a team that thinks you're 2 years away from winning a Stanley Cup?
In a lot of markets, the teams are there. They need to win to get fans in the crowd. Markets like LA and New York City, they just need the headline.
Forget markets. I have an interesting pair of teams. It'll piss Eichel right the hell off.
Ottawa.
Colder.
Winnipeg.
Winnipeg and Vancouver. Winnipeg in particular can look at themselves and go, we might be a Jack Eichel away.
They don't have cap room for that.
They don't have cap room for that, but I also think that they could go ahead and look at themselves and go, maybe. Vancouver. Jim Benning is known to be ballsy. Sometimes stupid.
The moron.
Often both. But they have a lot of good prospects. They have got a good core of young players, and maybe they think they could be a Jack Eichel away. Vancouver would be a very interesting team to look at, especially if they fail to make the playoffs, which it looks like that's going to be the case. They look at themselves and go, maybe we need to just put a huge jolt in there. What does it? Jack Eichel. There's a lot to look at, and there's a lot of doom and gloom impending on this franchise. So thank you, Ralph Kruger, for kicking me in the testicles for the last time.
I personally will be surprised if Jack Eichel is not in this team through at least the end of the 2022-2023 season.
I agree.
I wouldn't.
I think when we're only talking about a Jack Eichel trade because there's not enough players who are playing well enough to earn getting traded. Steve just showed me a graph of Eric Stahl's performance, and that's drastic. We've reached the apex of the roller coaster, and we are firmly on our way down. Man, we have
just send him home to Minnesota. Let him be with his family.
just let him take a night.
Trade him back
A
to
night
Minnesota.
off when you're playing back-to-backs is not necessarily a punishment either. It's just a lot of guys get back-to-backs off. It's fine.
Just trade him back to Minnesota for like a 12th round pick.
Those don't exist. I
Is
don't
that a
think
seventh and a
anymore.
fifth?
That's a point. Just
There's
give
a
him.
fifth and a seventh.
it's a 7th and a conditional 5th. Yes.
Just give him back. That's what I'm saying. Just give him back. Let him be home, and let somebody else play. That's gonna do something.
Wasn't Henrik Stenberg like his 10th or 12th round pick?
And there's a lot of notable hockey players who were very late round picks like that. Anyway, we've gone on for the better part of 2 hours here
They're
now.
so angry.
We've solved all the problems.
It was so angry.
We have provided clear solutions to the organization, and I hope they follow them to the T.
Kyle
And if
Poso,
you-
head coach.
And if you need something really, really stupidly wacky, just hire us.
If
We'll work for way less
Twitch
than $4 million.
coaches the Sabres.
I'll do it on an unpaid internship.
Hire me. The Islanders aren't good.
I will work for a fraction of Ralph Kruger's salary.
We'll do it for 100.
Hey, what kind of fraction are we talking? 99 out of 100?
I mean, ideally, but I'm open to
He's
discussion.
negotiable. He's willing to negotiate.
Talk to my agent.
100K for me. I'd do it for 100K. I'm serious.
I do for 50.
I would do it for less than that, but
I can name that tune in one note.
I'll be your agent, Jeff. I got it.
Thank you. Derek gets 1%.
Nice.
Which is more than 0. Thank you all so much again for listening. We've missed you while we've been gone. Hopefully the hockey team does a little better to get us a little less fired up for these shows, but I'm not confident they're going to, so
I'm going to apologize for all the swearing.
I hope that you didn't play this in front of your small children on the way to drop them off at daycare here this morning, or whatever it is that you're doing.
Kind of do.
Before we wrap up, sponsor shout out to Manscaped again. Use our code 716 Sports 716 Sports at checkout. Just 716 Sports at checkout for 20% off and free shipping. Shout out to podcast sponsor Hello Sweets Candy and Pop Shop, who doesn't have anything to give us because they went viral on TikTok and sold the entire store. So I'm glad to see that they, especially for a small business like that in the middle of a pandemic, glad to see them doing as well as they have here over the last couple months. All of our shows are on our social media, which is our Twitter, 716 Sports Podcast, Facebook, 716 Sport Podcast, and we are on Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Podbean, all that jazz.
Spotify.
We'll be back sometime. We'll probably be angry still. I don't see that changing anytime soon. We'll be fired up still. But in the meantime, thank you all so much for listening, and we'll talk to you real soon.
Go Bills?